You're watching Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Marshall Green. And over the weekend, Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai told the media that the franchise is at a crossroads and they could look to enter a rebuild this summer and try to build a long-term winner in the Eastern Conference. Does that mean a Mikal Bridges trade could be coming? And if so, should the Knicks go all in and make it happen? We have quotes from Joe Tsai. We're going to talk about two trade ideas and so much more on today's show. But first, I want to hear from all the real ones in the comments section, because I've been looking at the comments, and you guys are always talking about, Marshall, we don't need Bridges. We got Julius Randle. So now is your chance to voice your thoughts. Pick a player that you want on the Knicks next season. Is it Julius? Is it Mikal? Let me know in the comments section. Brooklyn Nets owner Joe Tsai over the weekend really talked about his franchise, where they are, how the season went, where they're going, and where he wants his team to be in a couple of years. And he mentioned that Brooklyn's roster will be revamped this offseason to compete in the long run rather than winning immediately. He said the Nets want to take a long-term approach. And if you're like me, and you've been following this storyline for a while of Mikal Bridges being the final piece to the Nova Knicks, if you read that story, if you watched that interview like I did, the first question you had to ask yourself is Mikal Bridges on the trading block? And if so, how much would it cost? This was the full quote from Joe Tsai. He said, quote, "We didn't do as well as we expected last season. We didn't make the playoffs, but we hope to revamp the team and make sure that we can compete in the long run. There's a difference between I want to win versus I want to build a winning mentality and culture that's sustainable. Those two are very different things. If you just want to win now, you could ruin your future by trading away all of your assets. But I think what I want to do with the Brooklyn Nets is to take a long-term approach and build a winning, sustainable culture." So let's say all of what he said does mean that the Nets are at least willing to listen to offers for Mikal Bridges to be traded. If that is so, the New York Knicks will not be the only one calling the Brooklyn Nets. Mikal Bridges is going to be wanted by almost every single team across the association that has a need at the forward position in their starting lineups. And it's not going to be cheap. Remember, just a couple of months ago at the 2024 NBA trade deadline, there were major reports that came out that the Houston Rockets offered a blockbuster trade package that involved Jalen Green and up to 3 first-round picks for Bridges, and Tsai and the Nets, they said no. A Brooklyn trade that involves Bridges, especially going to the New York Knicks, will not be cheap. These are two franchises that do not get along. And I promise you, Brooklyn's ownership group, they do not want to send Bridges to the Knicks, him be the final piece to a championship team. And once again, like it's always been, New York City is a Knicks town and a championship-winning Knicks town over the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets and the Knicks have not done a trade in 41 years, which still leads me to believe that this is most likely unlikely, that this is not going to happen. As bad as I want it to happen, as bad as I want to see Brunson, DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges all on the floor, wearing New York Knicks orange and blue, I'm not so sure how likely it is. But if he is available, if he is on the trading block, Mikal Bridges remains one of my top trade targets for the New York Knicks this summer. And it goes so much deeper. Obviously, we want to form the Nova Knicks again because of that winning brand and that winning basketball IQ. But the fit on the court, I feel like really makes a lot of sense. You're getting another guy that can defend multiple positions. He can guard ones, twos, threes, and sometimes small ball fours. He is a great catch-and-shoot player. I thought that this year, his production slightly fell off a little bit, as well as his efficiency, just because the shot diet and the offensive workload that he had to endure became a little bit too strong for him. They thought he was that ISO scorer, that one-on-one scorer, the guy that could be a 1A. And that's not really what Bridges is. He's really a great 3, and he's a good 2. And that's what the Knicks need. They need another guy on the perimeter that can catch and shoot from deep, line it up at 40%, while also getting a guy that can defend multiple positions and give you 20 when he needs to. It also gives them another versatile wing, and that's what wins in the NBA right now. Great players on the wing. Unless you got Kyrie and Luka, you need wings. You look at the Celtics, Look at the Timberwolves and the Knicks. They could have used another one of those players against the Indiana Pacers. They didn't have another body that they could have thrown at Pascal Siakam after OG Anunoby went down. And if you have a starting lineup of DiVincenzo, Bridges, OG, you got a lot of defenders, as well as Josh Hart, and you can play multiple ways on the defensive end. When you look at how Bridges goes about scoring, he's a catch-and-shoot player. He likes to score off the catch, whether he's lining it up from the corner, the wing, pump fake, put it on the deck one time and pull up and knocking it down. He does at a high clip. And then last year, in 2022, 2023, he knocked down his pull-up twos at 47%. And that was the major fall-off for him this past year. He shot more pull-up twos, but he didn't convert at the same percentage, going from 47 to 40. Won't need to do that as much if he is a part of the Knicks, but it is something and a spot on the floor that he can excel at. The question that I know all people want to know, myself included, can you trade for Mikal Bridges while keeping Julius Randle? I'm not sure I have the answer to that, but in the second half of today's video, I'm going to come up with 2 trade ideas for Bridges to go to the Knicks. One that involves Randle, one that does not, and I'm going to get your votes on which one you would do. But first, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We're going to continue to put out free, informative, entertaining updates every day on your New York Knicks, sometimes 2 videos a day. So if you're looking for a place on YouTube to keep you up to date with everything Knicks all summer long, hit that subscribe button right now and make sure you are hooked up with our proud sponsor, PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, and the #1 daily fantasy sports app will match your first deposit up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy with the NBA playoffs heating up, the MLB season in full swing, and before you know it, the NFL season being here, you need to be playing PrizePicks, and you could do so by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using that promo code CLNS, and they'll match your first deposit up to $100. All you do is create a lineup of 2 to 6 players, and you simply choose more or less on their projected stat line. One of my favorite things about PrizePicks is all of the specials that they offer you. They literally give you great opportunities to win big money. And right now, they've got the shots. Does that say shots saved? I'm blanking on that. Saved goalie saves from Igor Shesterkin, my guy for the Rangers. They're doing specials like this all the time, NHL, NBA. I'm taking the more on his as they've sliced that down a little bit. I think Kyrie Irving's going to have a big game as well for the Dallas Mavericks. I'll take the more on his points as well. Just go with a 2-player lineup today that can 3x my money. You could roll with my picks or fade my picks. Just do it at PrizePicks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that promo code CLNS. If you are going to trade for Mikal Bridges, and we're trying to figure out what a trade package will look like, we at least got to talk about what his contract is. Because as you know, in the NBA, if you want to make a trade, you got to get very, very close to this number. And this upcoming season, Bridges is going to make $23.3 million, then $24.9 million in 2025, and then he will be a free agent that summer. So you got to match that number, and you're going to have to add some first-round picks to it. If the Brooklyn Nets are giving up on Bridges, they're giving up on the identity of the team that they have right now, they're going to want future draft capital to build this roster. And there's only one team outside of the Knicks that has more draft capital to offer, and right now, that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. You can argue maybe the Utah Jazz, but I like where the Knicks are. 4 first-round picks potentially in 2025, 2 first-round picks in this upcoming draft, pick 24 and 25. You got 8 tradable first-round picks and 11 first-rounders in the next 7 years. You didn't have to give up a first-round pick for OG Anunoby. You only had to give up 1 first-round pick for Josh Hart. If there is a time and there is a spot that is acceptable for you to overpay for a player, it's this summer, and it's to go get a guy like Mikal Bridges. So this is our first trade idea of 1. Tried to come up with a trade idea that did not involve Randle. And to be quite honest with you, I still don't even know if this is enough. But let's dive into it. Mikal Bridges going to the Knicks with Bojan Bogdanovic, an expiring $20 million salary to help them on some salary cap spots in relief, with Miles McBride being the main player in that package, with 4 first-round picks, maybe 5 first-round picks, 2 unprotected. This, I feel like, would be the bare minimum that they would accept. You might have to up that pick number to 5, maybe even 6. But I do want to say this. Any team that is making a trade with the New York Knicks this offseason, they are going to want Miles McBride. 1, because he's a good player. 2, because he's young. And 3, because he's under contract for the next 3 seasons at a total of less than $5 million. So he's a cheap, young, cost-controlled asset that's only getting better and better. We saw him in the regular season this year finally start to become that player that a lot of people thought he could be. We know he's a pest on the defensive end, but he became a knockdown three-point shooter. And when you shoot 40.9% from three, and you also provide the on-ball perimeter defense that Deuce does, you're always going to have a spot to play in this league. And he also played pretty well in the playoffs, 11 points per game. Three-point percentage went down a little bit, but still league average, 36.8%. I see him more as an off-ball guard. I don't think he's ever going to be a guy that is a point guard. I don't think that he has tight enough ball handling skills. I don't think he makes teammates around him all that much better. Not really a playmaker, more of a play finisher is what I would call Miles McBride. He can get to that pull-up too, and he can knock it down off the catch. More of a undersized two-guard than point guard. I'm just not sure if this is enough, though. Are they really going to take $20 million in expiring salary and then one young player and a lot of picks? Maybe, but that's the best that I could come up with looking at these Knicks trade assets. Maybe you find a way to try to include Mitchell Robinson, but then you got to accept salary from them back. Probably a three-team trade would need to happen if you want to hold on to Randle. If you're willing to give up Julius Randle, this is the trade that I would offer to the Brooklyn Nets. I'll give you Randle, Bogey, McBride, 2 first-round picks for Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith. So you pretty much add Randle, take away 2 picks. So you take away 2 picks, you add Randle, and you get Dorian Finney-Smith as well. Finney-Smith is a Tom Thibodeau player through and through. He would be the perfect 3-4 hybrid off the bench for this team. He could defend multiple positions. He's a pretty good three-point shooter. He knocked it down last year at just 34.8%, and the year before that, 33.7%. But when he played with Luka and he got open looks consistently with the Mavericks in 2021 and 2020, he was 39+%. And I think playing alongside a guy like Brunson and Hart and DiVincenzo and Bridges and Hartenstein and Anunoby, he could come in, post up in the corner, and just knock down open looks. And let's be honest, a starting 5 of Brunson with Hart and DiVincenzo starting, one coming off the bench, Bridges, Anunoby, Hartenstein, Dorian Finney-Smith. If your top 7 players are Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo, Bridges, OG, and Hartenstein, and Finney-Smith, I think you win the NBA Finals. I really, really do. One thing I love about Mikal Bridges that I didn't mention earlier is he hasn't missed a game in 4 seasons. Let's get some people in here that are always going to be available. I want you to pick a trade. To close today's show, pick a trade that you would rather make. Is it trade 1, where you hold on to Randle and you send out Bogey, Deuce, and 4 first-round picks and you just get back Bridges? Or is it trade number 2, where you give up Randle, Bogey, McBride, 2 first-round picks, but you get Bridges and Dorian Finney-Smith? I want to hear from all the real ones. Type 1, type 2, which deal would you rather make? If I had to choose, it would be deal 1, because the starting lineup of Brunson with Bridges, OG, Randle, and Hartenstein, I think it's the best starting 5 in the NBA. But I just don't see, and I'm trying to think as clear and as unbiased as I can, I don't see them making a trade unless a top player like Randle is involved. Maybe it's a 3-team deal, and we've talked about Randle going to the Hawks, Trae Young going to the Nets, and Mikal Bridges going to the Knicks, but I don't know. I would do 1. That's the one I would choose. But to be honest with you, I would do 2 as well. I think that just makes the Knicks a little bit more diverse and a more modern team. And I think that if you can get Bridges with the Nova boys, you're going to be in a good spot for a long, long time to come. Make sure you are following me over on social media. I'm on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_, while on Instagram at @MarshallGreen_. Hit me up over there, and let's go Knicks.